I have a microphone. Let's say take the stage, for example. I have a microphone. People are here. They paid money to see me. My voice is being amplified. I don't want to say anything that's BS. I don't want to waste people's time.
This is all about the song. Welcome to the 115th episode of All About the Song. I am your host, Michael McDonnell, and thank you for joining us. On the podcast today, we have Alex Pulec, who plays in a band called The Nursery. Now, Alex was the very first guest on All About the Song. It took place the recording of it was September 2017. It came out November 2017. So it was the first podcast I ever did. I think we did okay, but it was really nice to have a conversation now that we know what this podcast kind of is at this point. Alex has just released 2 songs, Radium Girls and Demons. Both have incredible music videos. They also have live videos of both those songs that the Nursery premiered about 3 weeks ago. All the links for that are below on YouTube and in the description if you're listening to the audio podcast. Once you're finished with this episode, be sure to check Alex Pulec out. And I'd like to add that on December 23rd, the Sounds Like Songs Network, which is the network this podcast is on, the YouTube channel that this podcast is on. I hope you hit the notification button and the subscribe button, by the way. But we are going to do a holiday special. We are going to feature artists that have been on the video podcast thus far performing Christmas songs. I'm not going to name anybody yet, but you know who they are if you look through the episodes we have released on this podcast channel thus far. It's going to be a fantastic event hosted by myself, Tal Weisman, who is the host of Everything But the Song, the sister podcast on the same network. And we're also going to feature members of our brand new team to talk about what it's been like so far this year in general, our podcast going to video, and what we have to look forward to in the new year. So we hope you join us on Wednesday, December 23rd. It'll be featured here on the Sounds Like Songs Network. And now a quick word from our friends and sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Hailed, which is a coffee shop located at Yonge and Gerrard in the downtown Toronto area. If you are a coffee drinker, you must try Hailed. They are ranked consistently among the top 10 coffee houses in Toronto. Visit the store and support local Toronto-based businesses. Be sure to place your order at www.hailed.ca. This episode is also brought to you by Flickly. Thank you, Richard Atkin, friend of the podcast. We really appreciate your support for the Canadian music scene. Rich is the founder and CEO of Flickly, a premier video animation studio, working with large brands and enterprises across the globe. Learn more about Rich and his work at Flickly by going to the website flickly.com, FLIKLI.com, and connect with Richard Atkin on LinkedIn. So here we are, episode 115 of All About the Song, featuring Alex Pulec of The Nursery. Alex Pulec, congratulations, Radium Girls Out. How does it feel for the song to be out in the world?
It feels great, of course, especially that we were able to make the video before COVID.
Yeah.
It was in a hospital, so definitely something that would have been impossible today.
Well, I got to add, okay, so the video is amazing.
Thank you.
You recorded it at Sick Kids. What was Was that the idea to, like, when you thought of a music video for it, did you think about doing it in a hospital in the sense, like, Radium Girls is such a cool concept, and I've had to do some researching as to kind of like the background story of what happened with radium makeup and stuff like that, and what people unfortunately experienced. I mean, it was such a cool idea to kind of capture like the idea of what radium does to somebody.
Yeah, and it was the idea that all these people were sold an idea of technology in the future. Radium was going to be so exciting and glow in the dark. You can paint your lips, paint your teeth. It's totally safe, no problem. But of course, they were sold down the river with that idea. And I think that is still a concept that's pretty relevant today with being told that things are safe and fun and just do it, and then experiencing tragic circumstances. So yeah, it's just a fascinating story, and it was very inspiring for the song.
With regards to the song, when did you? I mean, you worked on it for a while, and you and I were in conversation like through the development. But what was the original inception of the song?
Like
kind of the concept, and when did you start to write it?
Around 2018, I guess, 2 years ago. And it just kind of crystallized over time. And to answer your question earlier, I did want to shoot it in a hospital. That was kind of, honestly, the visuals helped me drive the song, because the original story is pretty visual as it is, being Radium Girls. Like you kind of see the visual of the glowing, and then the factories, and then, you know, some of the morbid stuff, like how they kind of fell apart and started disintegrating. And it just seemed like the perfect combination of something magical and something really dark. And, you know, I'm drawn to those kind of things. And yeah, it just inspired me over the last couple of years, worked on the video.
I like the band with the upright bass. Like, I like the gauze around the head. Like, I thought that was really fun.
Thanks. Yeah. I love using the Nursery as a platform to create different characters and have us appear in different ways that are like, you know, create our own little world. So that was a weird, surreal world that was a combination of modern hospitals and health industry with that old-timey kind of feel from like a, you know, World War II kind of era type stuff, which is when it happened. It was like, you know, World War I, actually, which was 1917 to 1925 kind of times. Yeah, that was fun.
You and I grew up playing music together. We played in a band called the Ruby Spirit for 10 years. So I am familiar with the way that you work on songs and you develop them. And it was really cool to watch your, you know, initial development from a young person who started to write songs to now. But what does it feel like to have a song that you, in your words, allowed to crystallize, be released? How do you take, like, does it feel like a relief?
Huge relief. Yeah, just huge burden. Just not a burden, but it's like something you've made that you've been keeping in your closet for the last however months. You know, it was pretty much done and ready to go at the beginning of COVID. But when that all happened in March, you know, just kind of kept it in my theoretical closet. And yeah, then it seemed like the right time a couple months ago when you know, people were really embracing, you know, sharing new stuff. And so it just seemed like the right time. But yeah, it felt great letting go of it, finally. I don't like hanging on to old music and finished stuff.
Yeah, but it's tricky also because the whole idea of writing something and releasing it right away, we've moved so far away from that. Now it's like you write a song and it's like, okay, step one is done. And now you have to, not have to, but
make your image material, your graphics. Is it going to be a video, or are you going to do just artwork, you know?
How do you feel about the whole package around it release?
It can be overwhelming at times. Combination of overwhelming and very inspiring because, you know, as you know, I also direct video, and I like being involved in all aspects of the art making, just from the image to the music to production. So there's an excitement that comes with doing the whole package, but there's also a lot of, you know, overwhelming feelings, you know, those moments of dread where you're like, you know, I wish I had more people to help. And I do have people, you know, great team of people who work and help out with everything. But I like it because the pressure kind of keeps me on my toes.
Do you like having to reinterpret the idea of a song in so many different mediums to put it out?
Not so much because the music lives, as it is. First, it's all about the song. But seriously, it comes down to that. What's the song feel like? What does it sound like? How does it resonate with the average person? And then the visuals and the art and the packaging and whatever creative things you do come next.
Yeah.
And I love the immersive experience, especially now. I really miss the immersive experience. And now that shows don't happen. So, more art, videos. I'd love to get into things like gaming and like creating like more virtual experiences around the song or the worlds that are created with the characters in the songs and the band. But, eventually.
Well, do you feel, live music right now isn't the thing. Obviously, I imagine that the idea of releasing this music or all music has a lot to do with playing it live.
Yeah, and we were fortunate to do some live videos, and that's pretty much the best we got. Where we're for the new stuff that we recorded, it's us playing in the studio that we recorded in.
It looked really good.
Thanks.
I think has it been released? Yeah, it has been released.
Radium Girls, yeah, Radium Girls.
That's really cool. So putting it together with the band, like doing it live, but I guess you would like it doing video. Like you've always enjoyed like a release in that sense of doing like a visual.
To me, it's all about if you're doing a piece of art that you want to connect with someone, the more senses that you resonate with, the stronger it is. And I don't like sitting on things because I think once you make it and you release it, it's not really yours anymore. And I love that part. But for me, music, it's just one aspect to what a statement can be. Mm-hmm. So I just love the fact that you can add music, video, even like really good design. There's like a lot of even the API not the API, but filters. I think that's pretty fun. Like a filter that fits, and you just want to bring people into the world of the song, and it's immersive and it's exciting as a creator and as a someone like a fan.
Yeah.
I love it when artists I love do it. I love getting into all of it, like reading the liner notes, reading the book, watching the video, picking up on the Easter eggs if there are some. So yeah, that's just inspired me to do kind of the same.
I remember when you and I played our first show together, it was the one and only time that the only thing you had to do is, well, not only thing, but it was a lot more like put your flyer up against the wall, deliver tickets to people's houses. Like we did one show like that. And then we got a MySpace page. We could create an event. Then we got Facebook.
I love the DIY quality of all of that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent for DIY, like, the way we do things. Part of the band and some of the other studio mates created the studio that we recorded everything in, and that we shot the live video in, and the DIY element is so fun. I love that from back in the day. I didn't like how we're being used though by all those shady promoters, but
I just did a huge interview on Supernova, and with a gentleman named Cam Brio, who I don't know if you've met, but I'm still working out our connection to when this interviewer and I had met at some point in time, because we had to, but he's been sending me Supernova flyers all day, and it's like really cool to see. But we did do a lot of legwork to play as artists and gave a lot of people a lot of money for the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm. And we were pretty underage, right?
We were very underage.
Mm-hmm. That was an interesting experience playing those bars, but getting kicked out before and after, or like hiding in the fire escape or something.
Well, we started playing live music in our teens, our mid-teens, but a big thing that happened that changed was the smoking laws, and they kind of toughened up on who could be in bars at a certain amount of time. I think that we both experienced trying to wash off, the big X's on our hands before period one the next day at school. I did want to ask, though, putting out a release now in 2020, outside of obviously COVID making it different, when you first started writing songs and thinking about releases and the experience of whether it be for a group or just on your own, how do you feel that your kind of artistry has changed over the years?
So like how it's evolved?
How do you feel about it? Like, since when you started, I think it's just an amazing thing to put out a song,
Of course.
like to get it done.
Right.
And it might have like a bridge and a solo opposed to one or the other and those types of things. And those are just like stepping stones to get to where you are. But I think right now you're like a very conscious, aware artist who you don't need to know that you can write a song. You're aware that you're able to do this, but now you're able to kind of like focus your expression to like what you want.
Yeah, that's all very true. But I really like to continue to challenge myself. So whenever I feel like I've personally maybe, I don't want to use the word mastered, but gotten really good at writing a type of song or something within even a genre, I just like changing it up. I get bored kind of easily. I rather experiment and challenge myself to create things in a bunch of different ways rather than just keep spinning that one wheel and getting more perfect.
Right.
Which we know is like chasing a dragon, that, perfectionism dragon. So I guess how I've evolved in the most fundamental way is by not chasing that anymore and keeping myself excited, trying new things, different challenges, putting more restrictions on my writing. No solos.
No solos?
For instance, I haven't been doing solos for maybe 3 or 4 years now, but things like that. Trying not to, if I wrote the song on a piano, try to keep that true to the production. Don't always have to throw a guitar on it. Stuff like that. Working with different type of production elements.
You're doing a lot of you've always been very curious, and something I noticed at you in an early age is that once you did figure out how to like competently play the guitar, you kind of moved back to the piano. You kind of looked around the room and went, what other instruments are around? What can I pick up? And you've always been really good at doing it.
That's what helps drive the inspiration to keep doing it. It's definitely not the money. It's definitely not the fame or the glory or the validation or the vanity metrics of social media. How many likes did I get? How many followers am I going to finally get? It's definitely the satisfaction of learning things, overcoming challenges, and then creating something that I feel pretty good about at the end of the day. It always feels good to have people respond to it.
Yeah.
And that makes it, more fun. But that's just part of what keeps me going.
Do you have a particular side of like the recording aspect or process that I know that you've done a lot of, like you're mixing your own tracks and stuff like that at this point?
Not mixing my own tracks, but I'm mixing some other tracks that I'm working on. But for the Nursery, I work with Mike Fong on that. He's primarily mixing it, but I'm part of the production process.
Yeah. Are you not because Mike Fong is really good and
Yeah.
he really does get you, and it's really cool to find or hear that musical partnership developing.
Mm-hmm.
You continue to find new things to work on, though.
Yeah, you just got to change it up. I'm always looking for new things. Like, for instance, I used to work with, I've worked with a lot of producers, and me and Mike have only really just begun with this new stuff. So, we're going to be collaborating for a long time. But, no hard feelings. I just, it's nice I love collaborating with different people. It just kind of freshens it up, livens it up.
So now, growing up we did the first podcast of All About the Song together.
We did.
Which was, I think it was good. I'm afraid to listen to it.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if I've ever listened to it. But it was, yeah.
So I will say to the listeners, like a really good deep dive for just the timeline of this podcast, but also for Alex Pulec's story. We did do a deep dive, but I would like to, just because it's been quite a while, go through some of those things. We might touch on a couple of things for a second time, but
of course.
You grew up in Toronto.
/ Timmins, kind of, was sent there for summers. And and holidays, Christmas times, and
What
everything
was-
till about 12, 13.
What was that experience like? How did that shape you? Timmins is about 4 or 5 hours north of Toronto.
9 or 10 hours north of
Sorry,
Toronto.
you're right. Our last interview was 4 hours
Was
away
it?
from Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, typical Canadian small town energy and vibe. That is very different than Toronto. Just the, everything that can influence in a person, that kind of energy, I think I picked up there. It was a very Eurocentric experience as well, because I always stayed with my grandparents up there, my Italian ones,
Mm-hmm.
no, and their world was really small. They had all their other Italian immigrant friends, and they were the only people who would visit. Everyone would come over. It'd be loud as hell. It'd always be coffee and the food and everything. So, and the artwork and just the vibe of the whole place was very much like that. My parents didn't always come with me, so it just felt like I was in truly another place. And that was inspiring because, real life in the city and school and all that stuff can get pretty boring.
Was it like an imaginative time, or was it like...
Oh, yeah. I had those coloring stuff all the time. I had tapes and drawing this and that, and, nothing that could be really worth anything today, but very imaginative. Yeah, just walking in the vast, just around the town and thinking about things, watching a lot of, I guess, much music at the time, really falling in love with music and movies around that time, being then feeling I want to be a part of this somehow.
I know that your first band that you started was in the 8th grade, and you did the Battle of the Bands talent show type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in and around, watching Much Music, which I remember and love, was there a specific moment where you thought okay, I could do this? Was there something that really sparked it?
Yeah, that movie. I feel like it's probably for a couple other people too, but that movie, 1991, the year that punk broke, which was the tour that I believe Mudhoney and Babes in Toyland, Sonic Youth, and Nirvana were on, and some other bands. And I was pretty much introduced to Nirvana and obsessed with them at the time.
Yeah.
From Much Music or whatever. And I just bought, I don't know, it was at a Music World or HMV or something where they're selling VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked that up. It just seemed so fun and inspiring. I didn't know if I felt like I could do this, but I certainly wanted to do this.
Right.
And then from there, I was my foray into independent, alternative, punk, all the things that truly shaped me. Because the only music you really get as a kid is mainstream radio, at least at those times, mainstream radio, mainstream TV, Much Music kind of thing, and your parents' records. So, my parents had a pretty interesting music taste, but, you get over that pretty fast. And so, that tape, Sonic Youth and all the Riot Girl bands on it really took me down the alternative, underground, kind of punk and indie music, I guess they were calling it at the time, route. And that's when I really started, getting into it.
You first started playing, I know this. You started playing piano. You took piano lessons.
Well, that was the germ of what grew into...
But that drives me crazy not drives me crazy, sorry, that's the wrong thing to say, but I reference you in so many interviews as the guy that took those piano lessons and then picked up a guitar and would all of a sudden think to himself oh, if this is this and this is this, and all of a sudden figure out something. And I would honestly see him oh my God, his rudimentary piano lessons are giving him this almost cheat sheet to figuring out stuff quicker.
By ear, because I was never good at reading music. I couldn't then, I can't now. It was just the ear that I was able to develop.
But you have a really good ear. And I watched you even at a young age do this thing where you kind of just cocked your head up and went, and you'd kind of close your eyes and you'd think, and then you'd start humming, and then you'd play it on your guitar. And it was this transition from ear to guitar.
Mhm.
And then as we matured, that like process wasn't so like above board anymore. And you're able to just play it silently and be like, this is what it is. And it was, I think it was a fantastic thing. Obviously, it is a fantastic thing.
So yeah, I don't actually credit the lessons or the piano lessons for anything. I definitely would be crediting my grandmother, Alenka, who came here from Czechoslovakia, so escaped the communist kind of regime there behind that Iron Curtain. And in her place, she had a beautiful piano, and she knew how to play, and she was trained. So as like 1, 2, 3, 4, like when I was a kid, before like TV and was anything, I would just listen to her play, and that was a transformative kind of spiritual experience of feeling the music and all the energy from it. It'd be a lot of Hungarian waltzes, like all that kind of stuff. Didn't know what it was, way beyond me, but I felt it as music. So that really gave me the ear, I think. Of course, some of the lessons are good for notes and scales and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, it didn't stick with me very long. I've forgotten everything.
Interesting. Well,
Scott in the band is like really brushing up on his theory right now, and he's talking to me about stuff. He's like, oh yeah, chords one. It's not really 1 4 5. It goes like 1 5 7 flat 2. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, I'll credit your ear, because even watching you sit down at a piano at an early age, you would do this thing where it was almost like your hands were drunk, where you were like figuring out by ear, and you go and then you go, okay, I know it, and you would just be able to like pick it up. And I remember kind of thinking at that time where I was at, in the way that I was learning music, I wasn't there to interpret what somebody was doing and then just like pick it up. And that was a real skill that I thought that you had, that I think is really aided you along this musical journey thus far.
All the best songs and melodies and things I've written come from that kind of experience. Just, screwing around and being drunk at just allowing my fingers to go, and then my ear and my mind and heart to like pick up on some kind of thing that excites me or stirs something down in the soul. Whenever I kind of get a little too exact about it, just sit down, like write the song kind of. I've done it and it's okay. It's just not the same.
So with the songs that you mostly love, do you feel like you're just kind of doing something and all of a sudden it just...
Yeah, boom. It is that ethereal, like divine experience. Not that I think one should rely on that all the time, but those are the best and my most favorite ones. And sometimes the writing process, I just try to mold myself so that like, that is more encouraged.
Right. It can be tricky, but when it happens, it's like the best.
That's why you got to, if you're on a clock or you're expected to write a certain amount of songs, and, you can't always rely on that. You got to like actually work up some chops that.
Well, totally. Because if you rely on every magical moment to happen, you could wait like 20 years in between songs. Mm-hmm. But it is really rewarding when they pop out finished.
Feels great. And there's just nothing like it. It just drives you to do the next one. I want to feel it again. Like even I have this weird thing where every time I think I write a great song, I don't feel like it's ever going to happen again. So, last time I felt that was with Everybody's Famous. And it's just like, this is it. And like, it's just the perfect confluence of everything I was feeling at the time, the music. I'm like, am I ever going to get something like that again? And then it did happen again with Radium Girls, and did actually happen again with the next song that I'm going to put out.
Which we can talk about. I believe this song the following song will be out just around the time that this podcast will be coming
probably
out.
right now. It's called Demons.
It's called Demons. And this song is a lot darker than Radium Girls. And it definitely is going in like, I don't want to say that just because you're putting out one song is like changing the direction, but what's the concept or inception of a song like Demons in comparison to what you've done previously?
Well, my thing has been like balancing the worlds of light and dark very much. And it's always been kind of like a darkness within a very colorful exterior.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been my thing for a while. But I really wanted to be a little bit more direct and overt with what the songs were really about, because I found sometimes they weren't always being understood in the right way. So with Demons, it was obviously lyrically in the song, it's got a lot of, it's about the underworld, about the dark sides of humanity and all that kind of stuff. And to dress it up as like a fun, boppy thing didn't seem to make sense aesthetically. So a big part of it was just making sure the music really reflected each word instead of playing this kind of weird game of like opposites, which I like, and it's been fun doing that. But a bunch of the new songs, including that one, are going to be more direct in that sense, where you're definitely going to feel the lyrics more through the music.
Well, it was very lyric driven.
Yeah, that's one thing I discovered through COVID. Just love lyrics. I think that's my favorite part about songwriting, honestly.
Well, you're good at it, and you're very poignant and succinct with what you're saying, which is good. Like, there's no fat in your lyrics in that song in particular.
Yeah.
Well, not to say Radium Girls either, but
yeah, I just like my philosophy on lyric writing, at least for songs, is saying really complicated things with very simple language. Mm-hmm. Where if you're writing poetry or something, I tend to do the opposite, which is just try to describe very human, simple things through more interesting language,
right? And
using words and twisting them around. But with songs, I just love the idea of the simplicity. But yeah, I don't like fat. I don't like words being there I don't know. It's as simple as I have a microphone. Let's say take the stage, for example. I have a microphone. People are here. They paid money to see me. My voice is being amplified. I don't want to say anything that's BS. I don't want to waste people's time. I'd rather just get to the point, have them enjoy it, and so I think that helps me self-edit myself a lot.
Well, I think that it's also like it's showing a lot of development, but also one of the things I've noticed with the newer material is that you've, as a guitar player and as someone that has relied on your instrument to express yourself in previous songs and situations, mm-hmm. there isn't a lot of additional guitar going along with like your lyrics or anything like that. You don't have any jangles, really. You used to be all jangles.
I used to be the jangle guy, yeah.
I think you coined the term lithm.
Lithm.
That's what you used to say to people. You're like, no, I play the lithm guitar.
I know, it was so annoying, like is it lead guitar or rhythm guitar? Like back over a decade ago even.
But you were I don't want to say that you were, and maybe you were, and if you were, I don't mean it to sound like a bad thing, but you were kind of hiding a little bit of the forefront of the vocal and the lyric by being able to do something really cool and interesting and amazing on the guitar. Definitely. But I feel like they're different things now.
Definitely different things. And it's more about the song and what I'm trying to express as an artist, like the growth of what that whole thing has been. And even back then when we were playing together, like I wasn't the only artist in the group either. There's other songwriters and stuff. So, I felt it was appropriate to kind of focus more on the guitar. But now when it's kind of more my project, I really want to express myself that way. And there's barely any guitar. Even in Demons, there's barely anything other than a lot of drums. Like the bass is just it's like a tuned kick drum. Mm-hmm. And then there's no guitar bass until the chorus, which is this disgusting rattly punk thing. And there's little bit of guitar there. And then the keyboards and the synth are just these like 1-2 note floating spooky chords just in the air. And you don't really know what the chord is, and then me singing over it. So I like that. And that's kind of been what I've been trying to do.
It's hard though to not allow yourself to add in this little guitar and this little thing. And
working with Mike has been great, Fong, and just any kind of collaborator, whether it's a producer or like a bandmate, you need that like positive, negative energy to kind of center you, mm-hmm. And bring you back in. So, or if it was left up to me, if I was totally producing everything myself, it would be like a maximalist shit show.
I would suggest that you would have something like a Jacob Collier, like, I have 373 tracks on this, and like there's 18 of them going like, dun it one time or something to that effect. Like you,
Yeah, and to be honest, I love music like that. I still do. And Brian Wilson's production and writing style is kind of the earliest I can think of that have everybody's been inspired by afterwards. And so I love all that stuff. But I'm really, especially with COVID, just everything that I'm feeling from in the world today with like COVID, humanity, whatever. I'm feeling getting down to the simple, real nucleus of things is what's driving me creatively. Right. I've done the maximalist thing for a while now, and this is much more interesting.
Well, I think it's showing a real mature side of you.
Yeah, or maybe immature, because I see it as dumber. Like that's what we talk about. Mike's like, okay, can I do this chord? But in Demons, for instance, while we do chords, no, maybe like 2-note chords. Okay, they're technically still chords. What about that note? What about this note? Let's just have it one note. Just make it real dumb. And that's what he talks about. It's just like, just make it dumb. It's got to sound dumb and like direct, So it sounds funny, but yeah, it's not even like, more intellectual and like in that sense. I'm really trying to dumb it down, but but of course, coming at it through like an artistic way, not literally using that term.
No, it's really important because it's an easy way for your audience to identify, and regardless of what message that they get in it, when you have it colored with so much information, sometimes it takes a while to get it.
Absolutely.
Now, with the new material that you're working on, you've gone through Radium Girls and Demons that will just be released now. Where do you feel like your artistic direction is going from there?
It's probably going to continue down the road of Demons. There's a couple other songs that are in the pipeline that are similar, but again, trying not veering too far from the formula, what those are, like the simplicity, something dark, something intense. Really loving intensity in music right now. And yeah, very personal. I think the songs are becoming way more personal than these kind of lofty ideas on the world.
Do you think you were afraid to be too personal before?
Yeah, it's typical vulnerability, in music more than any other than acting. You pretty much play it. You can play a character.
Yeah.
Even if the character this is the real me, but it's so easy to still play somebody else. The real you doesn't, it's not always the real you. So yeah, it was harder before, definitely more scary, but now I love it. I'm like thriving off it, kind of getting closer and closer to making things more personal, more direct, more intentionally simplistic in form, simplistic in form, but not content. Like delivery is simple, but what it is still a refined, piece of work, music, whatever that might be.
So I don't want to ask you how COVID has changed things. It's changed everything for everyone.
It's changed everything for everyone. For me, it's just made me like want to do that more. You're with your own mind more, and you're sitting with yourself. More isolation, less shows were such a good way to like connect with people and actually see how your music makes them feel. Comments, you're not always going to feel what they feel from what you do through a comment. Like, sometimes people are super descriptive.
Yeah.
Maybe you get some of the DMs every now and then, but like, there's nothing like that live energy. So
you can't blow anybody away the same way where like you play a song and it's like maybe track 8 of your 10 songs you're going to play. And for some reason, 5 people go to you and be like, what's the name of that song? It was amazing. Like, you're not really going to have that same guttural reaction.
Absolutely. So like, you're just alone with your thoughts more, and like anything to make the endless voices in your mind stop, like there's lots of ways you could do that. But music or being creative in general is and sharing it with people is certainly a good one.
So what's next for you?
What's next here? Demons. We're going to do a video and a live video for Demons as well. I don't know if that's going to be out by now. We were going to tour in Mexico and like Brazil because, people are really excited about things there. We were literally planning that for 2020, but now who knows? That's on permanent hiatus. Just writing more, releasing more stuff. Yeah.
Who's your favorite bass player you ever played with?
Well,
this is not a hard answer.
Not a hard question. Well, my favorite bass player I ever played with still plays a lot of bass, but now he has a podcast. And Scott's great. I know,
I'm just teasing.
Yeah. No, but
you have a really great band.
Thank you. They're such great guys. So thankful for their passion and belief in me. Fun. I got it down to 3 people now. I'm kind of obsessed with the power trio, triangles in general, like pyramid power. I don't know if you've ever looked into that.
But there's so much room to explore and like get that real sound. When you get beyond that, there's a lot more like of a reining it in kind of feel.
Yeah, like just the concept of, just to get like a little weird, but of a triangle and this whole pyramid power thing is that it's the strongest shape in the universe. So, and 1 point is just 1 point. 2 points is one thing. But as soon as you put that third point on there, the support system, and then you can turn that any way, and it can cut through all the organics of nature, because nature is never a straight line. It's always weird and moving and whatever. But the concept of like triangles and like the pyramid power is super fascinating to me. That's something that I've been obsessed with very long, and I've kind of now been looking at music that way, at least like live music that way with the band. And yeah, all of our sounds can be blown up way bigger, and the way we kind of support each other, just drums, bass, guitar, voice. It's just really exciting. It's great. I feel it's a more powerful band and situation than I've ever had before.
I'd like to thank Alex for being on the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for a guest you'd like to hear on an episode, send us an email, allaboutthesongpodcast@gmail.com. Our website is www.allaboutthesongpodcast.com. Be sure to check that out. Check out past episodes that we have done. This is, I think, our 7th episode that we've done video for, so if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification button. We release episodes every Tuesday at 7 a.m. Also, check out Everything But the Song, which is the sister podcast to this podcast, and it's hosted by Tal Weisman, and it's wonderful. His most recent episode that I listened to at the time of this recording was the one he did on himself, and he will be moving to video, so check the channel out for both these podcasts. So for Alex Pulec of the Nursery, I am Michael McDonnell. Episode 115 of the podcast is in the books. We'll see you next week.